And I said, nah, I'm going to stand right where I'm at with my balls and my guns out. And then I said, you can stand behind me if you're afraid.
Did he hit you back?
No, I don't think he will. Fuck the government, by the way. Like, you don't owe these people. They're your fucking employees. We are not subjects of a fucking kingdom. We are citizens of a constitutional republic. Fuck these motherfuckers. You don't owe them any of your money. You don't owe them any of your fucking liberty. God damn it, man.
That's nuts, man.
It's pretty nuts, but the only reason it happens is because people allow it to happen. That's it. And every time you tell these motherfuckers no, and to be honest, this guy should file a civil complaint and sue the ATF and the Delaware State Police for...
They think they know it. I've been praying for somebody to save me. No one's heroic in my life, don't even matter. I know it, I know it, I know I'm hurt deep down, but can't show it. I never had a place to call my own. I never had a home. Ain't nobody calling my phone. Where you been, where you at, what's on your mind? They say every life precious, but nobody care about mine. I've been on the low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine. I've been on the low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine. I want you to be.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Death by Tyranny podcast. I've been playing with some audio lately. It's been a while, so I listened back to the episodes, and it doesn't sound like the audio quality is quite there, but I think we're getting there slowly but surely. Now, per usual, we're going to go on the same rant that we normally go on, except today we're working with facts. Normally, this is a crazy conspiracy theory channel. I don't see it that way. I see it as trying to look as far into the future as possible and then trying to make the best decisions I can to make sure that my family can survive. But most of you would call that a crazy conspiracy nowadays. So here we are, 2023, and for the first time ever, come May 31st, we are going to default on the debt ceiling. And I don't think people realize how big that is. Not only are we going to default on the debt ceiling, but they are also trying to implement a new way of currency, a way that the federal government will have complete control over. They can literally shut off your ATM cards. In fact, to be completely honest, it's not much different than what we have today. Except the banks have a little bit more control than the federal government does. Well, so they think. Yesterday, I was out spending my own money, and they shut my debit card off because of a daily debit card usage limit. Now, normally I would say that this is a safety feature that they put in to make sure that if somebody gets a hold of your debit card, they can only spend so much. That insurance will only cover so much if it's fraudulently spent. However, I call the bank because I'm having car work done on my vehicle. It's being done. I can't take it back. And they literally tell me, no, sir, you cannot spend any more of your money. So tell me why I should keep my money in a bank if when I need it, I can't use it. Well, once we go into this federal digital currency that they're trying to implement right now, that's going to be the case all the time. Except instead of a spending limit, you're going to have a speech limit. When I come on here and criticize us giving money to Israel, they will be literally able to turn off my debit card. Now, they can already do this in some instances, and they have. When you think about Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes, these things already happen. But that takes a large group of people to come together to conspire against one individual. That everybody in our so-called society agrees on should be punished. Which is ridiculous. That is not what our founding fathers wanted. That is not what a free republic looks like. And we are not heading towards something that looks better. We are heading towards something that looks worse. How long have we known that countries don't last beyond 250 years? Did we really think, were we so naive to think that we would get to the 250 year mark plus and not have some trouble? But instead of preparing for those things, instead of implementing changes that would prevent that from happening, we've done the complete opposite. We've made race relations worse. We have forced diversity. We are literally punishing people by the color of their skin. It's just no longer black people. It's white people. It's Asian people that aren't being allowed into college even though they are the best candidate. Even though they can financially afford to go to that college, they are not being allowed or permitted into that school because there aren't enough other minorities in those schools. There are teachers in our classrooms, in our public schools that our taxes pay for, that are teaching our children how not only to have sex at a much, much younger age, like 2 to 8. Not only are they teaching them how to have sex, but they are teaching them how to go on the internet and find it. We know how dangerous the internet can be as adults. Why are we teaching kids to navigate to find sexual activity? And I'm not making this shit up. You can go find it. These are books in classrooms today. Now, it's no surprise that these are Democrat-ran cities, and we are being controlled largely by Democrats now. And that's why we are rapidly decaying as a country. And they are going to be at the helm when we default on the debt ceiling. Now, why do I say these are the facts and why it brings us closer to what I've been saying, what many people have been saying, is to prepare, because we might not be a country very much longer. Them defaulting on the debt ceiling is such a big deal right now that insiders on Capitol Hill are telling people, if you have a cause, if you have legislation that you're waiting to pass, or is something you're hoping that is going to be put in front of Congress, it's not going to happen. All hands are on deck for the debt ceiling. So all the people that are waiting to not SPR their pistols, all the people that think this pistol brace ruling from the ATF is going to be overturned, that's not going to happen. They're not even thinking about stopping that until after the fact. Maybe if we're lucky, after the fact, they'll go back and look at that and have it overturned, like the bump stock ban, which is still pretty much in fucking limbo. Long story short, when the federal government decides to be tyrannical, even when we take the right paths to navigate that, it's not working. Our politicians are no longer doing shady shit behind closed doors. They are doing it in the wide open. They're telling you they're doing it, and they're going to continue to do it. We all know that the Hunter Biden laptop thing was real, but we were told it was fake. We all know that Trump colluding with Russia was fake, but we were all told it was real. There are still ignorant people out there that believe both of those truths are the opposite. And I heard something today that I would normally agree with this person, right? He says a lot of smart things. And he says, we're not getting better as a country because we keep electing stupid people. And we are who we elect. And the people that are voting for these stupid people are only just a little less stupid. Now, I agree that we keep electing stupid people. That is evident. To me, in my opinion, that's a fact. In fact, it almost seems the dumber and incapable you are, the more likely you are to be elected. However, I disagree with the part that the voters are less stupid. I think that the voters today are more ignorant than they have ever been in the history of this country. And my evidence for that is we keep lowering the bar on who can vote. We are not putting in instruments and any kind of path to ensure that the people voting for change in the politicians to make sure this country doesn't end, none of that is even being thought of. They're doing the opposite. They're making sure that people that have no skin in the game when it comes to America surviving or collapsing can vote. They are literally trying to find ways for dead people to vote. They do not care about the quality of voter that shows up at the polls as long as they can brainwash them enough, and that's what they've banked on this far. And they were correct. We fell for it. When we look back when this country is over, because it is inevitable, it will happen at some point, whether it be from God's hands or from the politicians that are in power today, it will end. And when we look back, that will be the reason. The reason will be we lowered the bar for voting so low, and all the politicians had to bank on was that they could brainwash the masses enough. They've seen it play out in history too many times for it not to work. All their chips were on the table that they could convince you that they were the best candidate, when in all reality, all they were trying to do is steal as much silver off of the boat before it sank. So as the quality and the level for voting lowers, so does our quality in our society. Sure, technology has taken us far, far, far into the future. And humanity has took leaps and bounds, but it did it to protect and to preserve this country. Now both of those things are being used to destroy it. And when I make these arguments, I always tell people you have to see the other side. You have to know that they're coming from the best intentions before you can argue against that point. And this is the only reasonable explanation I can think of for people who are against the Second Amendment. I truly believe deep down in their hearts they know that the Second Amendment is there to protect the rest of those constitutional rights. But they know where we are headed. The more citizens that are armed, the more bloodshed that will happen during the collapse of this country. And they believe that their politicians that they worship will protect them. So the only thing they have to do to survive the collapse of this country is to make sure the people that are trying to stop that collapse are disarmed. That is truly what I believe those people want the Second Amendment gone for. Now, they will never tell you that because they're liars. They always have been. They will never be upfront with you. When a black politician comes up and says that black people should have money given to them because their ancestors suffered in slavery, they have something to gain from that. And that's just an obvious example, but this is how most politicians think. There are not many politicians that go to bat and put their neck on the line for issues that do not benefit them. Look at Dan Crenshaw. I am a conservative. I am a Christian. And you would think that I would side with Dan Crenshaw in most scenarios. Yet the only time that I have had strikes on my YouTube channel is when I say something negative against Dan Crenshaw, which you would think YouTube would be all about. And that should show you that Dan Crenshaw isn't who he says he is. He has never been a conservative. He has always waited for the right time to sell his stocks, to buy his stocks. Now he is a veteran and, whatever. So you would think he would do better for the veterans that he fought beside for the veterans that preserved his freedoms so he could get where he is today, and for the future veterans that will be to come. But he doesn't. He uses and abuses his power. And just like most politicians, if not all of them, he uses those veterans, those soldiers, as pawns to get more for himself. This is why I said we can talk about the issues. We can disagree on abortion. We can disagree on magazine capacities, whatever. But the largest problem we have today is facing the federal government. Our biggest enemy is not Russia, is not China. It is our own federal government. And we are, as of right now, not doing a damn thing to prevent them from doing whatever the fuck they want. And believe that every single day they are making your life harder while their lives become better. That is what it looks like to live in a tyrannical government, period. We are there. What our forefathers warned us about is happening, and it will continue to happen. You don't believe when they hit the debt ceiling that they're just not going to make that go away? What do you think that's going to do to inflation? 2 years ago when COVID started, our economy was so bad, right? So bad that they said you had to make $25 an hour, just for hypothetical, simple mathematics, or you would literally not be able to survive to live. At least not a good life. Definitely not even middle class. Now, most of those people didn't realize, and it didn't sink into their heads because we were printing money and giving it to them. How many of those people 2 years later were evicted from their homes? That's where we are at. We are being hoodwinked every single day. To get out of the bind that we are in economically, the politicians are going to fuck us royally. If there was any hope that there would be Social Security, got tongue-tied there for a minute, when I become 62, 62 and a half, whatever the age is, if there was just a little bit of hope that that was still going to be implemented when I'm that age, it's gone now. In fact, the only thing we should be worrying about is preserving this country for that long. It might not be tomorrow. It might not be until after 2024. But we are in such a bad state as a country that even if whoever you think the best candidate for a president is wins in 2024, we're still fucked. Yet the politicians on the Democratic side are only concerned about making sure you are disarmed when that point comes. This also shows you that the Second Amendment is not only there for a reason, but it is working. January 6th scared them, but they are not terrified. They lied, they cheated, they pretty much gaslighted January 6th. But that's not what keeps politicians up at night. What keeps politicians up at night isn't thoughts on how they're going to save their constituents. It's the fact that the end of this country is near, and there are 300 million guns in this country. And who do you think those people that suffering are going to come for? Sure, there's going to be plenty of friendly fire when this happens. It's going to be utter chaos. And this is why we should start implementing something that is parallel to the federal government. So we have something to implement when this happens. And I know this sounds crazy, but Texas is already doing it. Texas makes more money than they spend, and they have the border crisis going on right now. Texas more than likely could survive on their own if they were to secede from the United States. Why aren't all the conservative ran states in the United States trying to do this? They see California. They see New York. They know that those are failing states. You can only prop that shit up for so long until it sinks. And this country can either sink with those shitty ran states, or we can make sure the cities, not cities, the states that survive are capable to run on their own, separate from the federal government. And the smaller you go, the better we will be off. If our states decide to be parallel to the federal government, our states will be better off. If those cities in those states decide to have a system in play, if anything were to happen, they could survive on their own, they would be better off. The towns in those cities, if they were prepared to be on their own, they would be better off. And it goes on and on and on down to the individual. This is where people on the conservative side of the internet have told you to be prepared. Have so much food. Learn, train how to fight. Be able to protect your home. If you don't have somewhere in mind to get away when shit hits the fan, it's probably too late. So the best thing you can do is fortify and bunker down where you are. That is what I have decided to do. I have never been good with financials, I'll be honest about that. But I'm going to do the best with the circumstances that my decisions have led me to. And I will make sure that with little I have, I am able to protect my family until my last breath. Whether that be from some looter down the street or an actual federal agent. Now, to kind of veer away from the seriousness of this conversation, even though I think it's very important, and I don't think a lot of people know what's going on right now. They hear prepared, blah, 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 buy guns, yada, 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 protect the Second Amendment, but they really don't understand the predicament. I don't even know if I'm saying that word right. Predicament, there you go. That we are in is so serious. There have been many times in history's past where the people who you thought looked crazy, the people who you thought were conspiracy theorists, were right. And I'm not talking about 50 to 100 years ago. I'm talking about months ago. I'm talking about just a few years ago when we told you the COVID response was a way to control the people. That most information that they were letting out to control you was false. They said believe the science, but in fact they were manipulating the science. Well, now they're not just now, but they always have been, but they are now at a point where they are openly manipulating the federal government, your tax dollars, and your freedoms right in front of your face. Got a frog in my throat. Like I said, to just kind of end on a less serious note today, because I do have to work tonight. I'm trying to make these a little bit shorter because I realize, I guess, long-term, long-form content isn't really the jam for most people. I prefer it, but so we'll meet in the middle. Instead of an hour, we'll do a half an hour. Maybe then I can start actually doing them more often. But I just got a new welcome mat, and my wife, we both agree that, you know, we think having a welcome mat looks good. It presents your house to people who come and visit and yada yada yada. But she didn't want one that said welcome. And I agree, because you just don't want an open invitation to walk into your home like that. I don't even know if there's probably some legality reasons why you wouldn't want a big-ass sign that says welcome on your front door. Either way, me and my wife agree that we didn't like that. And so we bought one, I bought one, that says come back with a warrant. I thought that was pretty cool. I heard another podcaster talking about it. Sure enough, if you just search it up on Amazon, you'll be able to find them. You can actually get one that says pretty much whatever you want. But for my case scenario, for what I do, what I say on the internet, I thought that was the best one. Now, I'm sure the 1.5 people that watch this have noticed the come take it sign in the back here. Since I will be buying this home, I will probably rearrange this at some point. The podcasting room might not even stay where it is. But I do have 2 flags. I've had one for a while, a company that I like to support. It's an apparel company, but it's more than that. I like the aesthetics of that company. It's the message that that company sends to people. And the one is Task Force Doomer, which is a lot of Gen X, kind of cyberpunkish art. But the main symbol is an X, or like a stock crashing. And the main message behind this brand is the end is here. It is now. I believe that X is a symbol to be able to help us that know identify each other. That's what I would like to believe. I would like to believe that when we see that X from Task Force Doomer on a hat of somebody walking down the street, we can give each other a wink and a nod. Better yet, stop each other and talk. The other company is called Fear Tomorrow. I think the brand there is pretty obvious and the message that they're trying to get across. Time is running out. So now that I have both of those flags, those will take the place of the come take it flag. Now, I think that's a very important flag as well, but the fact of the matter is that they are coming and taking them, and we're not doing anything about it. And it's bigger than that. Not only are we not doing anything about them coming and taking our firearms, we're not doing anything about them destroying our country. And it maybe only took 3% of people to stand up to Great Britain and yada, yada, yada. But the population is so much bigger now. The education per capita is so much lower now. If you want to say that people back in the day were stupid, at least most of the people were on the level. Today, there is a wide-ranging level of stupidity, and very few of us that are able to rise above and see the challenges that we are actually faced with. We are not faced with the issue of gender equality. We are not going to die if we don't use somebody's pronouns. In fact, most of the things that they're trying to push forward ends life. Everything about it. Now, I know people, even conservatives nowadays, right? This is how far we've fallen as Christians, as conservatives. Even when you say negative things about gay people anymore, people start to cringe and, I don't want to talk about that. But everything they stand for equals death. If you are to have sex with the same sex forever and then promote that to the majority of people, humanity will die off. You are literally promoting death. Now, I'm sure there's some argument against that, but it's just to say that's not the only one. There's abortion. There's taking kids at a young age and transitioning them so they can't reproduce. That means they can't continue on society. They can't fulfill the purpose that they were put here to do. And that doesn't matter if you believe in God or what you believe in. The purpose of mankind has always been to reproduce. Even if you're only going from a natural scientific standpoint, that is how humanity survives. So most of the things that they preach and they are trying to push onto us and have done a very good job at brainwashing our children with equals death, the end of humanity. So I think it is time to stop mocking the federal government because they have called our bluff. We said, come take it, and they did. Now the only thing we can do is make sure that trying to think of the word that would best describe what I'm trying to make a picture of here. Like-minded. There you go. Like-minded individuals are able to identify each other so that we can survive as long as possible. And just maybe we prepare enough that when that time comes that the collapse is here, we can not only survive, but we can make something better. And with that, guys, I love you guys. Stay prepared. Stay safe. God bless. America first. Peace, y'all.